Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to the I Love You So Much YouTube channel. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get started with the episode. Hi y'all, welcome back to the I Love You So Much podcast. I am your host, Kenzie Elizabeth, and today we're recording, and by we I mean I am recording potentially the best episode we have ever seen here at the I Love You So Much podcast. I am doing a solo episode. It is essentially the Breakup Bible. This title actually came from a conversation that I had with Lauren Elizabeth. We were in New York and we were just talking. We had both gone through breakups pretty, actually a week apart within the past 2 years. And so we would always talk about it together. And I said, just off the cuff, I was like, genuinely, my breakup was the best thing to ever happen to me, literally ever. And we laughed and it was funny. And I didn't mean that as a dig at any of my ex-boyfriends, but my breakup that I thought was the most heartbreaking thing at the time ended up being the absolute best thing for me. So we're talking about that today. We're talking about breakups, actual breakup tips that did something for me and really helped me, things that I had to figure out within myself, and then, my favorite topic, which is living your absolute best single life in your 20s. I have been living for this, and I think you guys are really gonna enjoy this episode. If you're going through a breakup, we're gonna talk about it being sad. I'm not trying to deny or undermine your feelings, but we're gonna go through this. I've held off on even talking about this for a while, but this isn't about anyone that I've dated. This is about me and my experience. This is not a dig at anyone that I've dated. I've dated many boys throughout my life, and every single breakup has always been a good thing. I can't think of a single breakup that I've been through or that I've seen anyone else go through that didn't end up being a good thing. They literally always end up being good. Even if those people are actually meant to be and they get back together years down the road, which by the way, we're not holding out hope for that. We don't want to think that way. Breakups are always a good thing. I think that is something that needs to be normalized. We need to talk about this more. So anyways, I think this is going to be the best breakup episode anyone has ever heard. It is inspiring. It is life-changing even, okay? So buckle up, people. But before we get into that episode, I want to do a little housekeeping. If you guys purchased from the recent Breadwinning Housewife Country Club drop, thank you so much. I love you all dearly. You are absolutely incredible. If you guys haven't already, we have another drop. We have pink crews, we have sand crews, crew necks. I was saying cruise sounded like I was going on a cruise. Now, we had some pink and sand crew necks, if you will. Then we had a nice little quarter zip and matching sweatpants, all Breadwinning Housewife, baseball cap. We also had a little coffee tumbler that I use every single day. I think you guys will really love this stuff. I will have it linked below. Thank you all to everyone who has shopped it. I love you guys so much. We've been working really hard on more stuff that is coming, and you guys are going to die at our summer and winter drops. You have not seen anything, but we will not have a drop for another couple months. So you guys want to make sure you're getting this stuff because it will not be available forever. All right? So anyways, back to breakups, all right? This isn't necessarily just about one breakup in particular. It's not even about the breakup. I think as you go through a breakup, you tend to naturally make it about your ex, when at the end of the day, this breakup needs to be about you. So don't be focused on them. The breakup is about you, okay? So again, all respect to my every ex that I've had. We were not meant to be. I hope they're happier too. I'm sure they are. But again, this isn't about them. It's about me, so let me live. Thank you. Again, breakups are always a good thing. Literally always. A breakup is a chance for change and growth. I've said this so many times, but you will grow so much from this that you will not even want to be with the person that broke your heart to begin with. I promise you. I think even the point kind of behind the title is that, this is such a cliche. It's very cheesy, and someone in my life that I love is older and married and more of a mentor figure kept saying this to me, and she was like, rejection is redirection or God's protection, whatever works for you. I think in my case it was both. Rejection is the worst feeling in the world, but it is, I truly believe, the best thing for you. I'm more grateful for the things that didn't work out for me than the things that did, We're gonna kick off this episode with a bit of positivity, if you will. I'm going to start off by listing all of the things that have come into my life since I've become single. Just so everyone knows, I wrote this as a joke, but I genuinely did write down Casamigos tequila and a lot more ranch waters. I was kidding, even though that is partly true. But I also live in Texas, so. Oh, you know what? I want to paint the picture for y'all. I'm sorry that my voice is raspy. I really don't know what's up with that. but I'm currently drinking Throat Coat tea. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see the mug. Out of a Texas mug, so cute, which by the way, every podcast episode that we post is also available on the I Love You So Much YouTube channel if you guys want to watch on your TVs. I watch podcasts on TV all the time. And then I have my sweet tea from McAllister. So this is a very Kenzie setup, if you will. I also look like I'm about to go ride horses. If you see the YouTube video, then you know. I'm actually not today, but I have been recently. Back to my list. Things that have come into my life or gotten better since I become single. Literally every single friendship or relationship of mine has improved. I've had a drastically improved social life. Naturally, when you're in a relationship, you're with that person. You don't invest in much in your social life, and my social life has genuinely never been better. I have had more fun in my life than I have ever had. The past year, even specifically, has been so much fun. I have the best relationship with myself that I've ever had, which by far is what I'm the happiest about and the most proud of. I have made more money than I ever have. I've also been able to keep a lot more of the money than I ever have. I leaned into breadwinning housewife and another business venture that is coming to life soon. I've had so much travel and friendships built even with people that don't live here. I spent so much time in New York, and I feel like I travel all the time. I've been off for like a month and it's been so refreshing, but I travel all the time, and I don't think I would want to leave 24/7 if I had a boyfriend here, you know? So many concerts. Life in Dallas is the best it's ever been. I've read over 160 books at this point, probably more than that because I haven't counted all of them. And you know, most importantly, I sleep with so much peace on my pillow. I go to bed and I wake up at ease, at peace. I'm not stressed. I'm not thinking about anyone else. I'm not looking to see if I need to text someone back. No, I sleep with so much peace on my pillow. And again, I want to say, I know one day I'll meet someone and I will be happier with them and, you know, whatever. Clearly, I just haven't met that person yet. So I'm not like, you know, shitting on everyone who's in a relationship, but I just personally sleep with so much peace on my pillow. I'm not, at this point, willing to give that up. And also, I know myself better than I ever have. I've had a year, a year pretty much fully being single, almost, and I've never grown more. You know, I've had some ups and downs, as we know, we've heard about on this podcast, but I feel like I know myself better than I ever have before. I feel like I lost myself a ton, specifically in a longer relationship that I had in my earlier 20s, and there were other factors. It wasn't just the relationship, but I did do that, and that is on me. And having this time to be single and only focus on myself has been like the best thing that ever happened to me. When they say being single is a gift, they're not kidding, guys, all right? So that's just like a few things that I've listed off that have made my life so much better. There are so many things that have improved my life, like so many things. It has been genuinely the best year and a half of my life, and I really think a lot of, I have being single to thank for a lot of it, I will be honest. All right, going into breakups. Breakups suck. They're the worst thing in the world. It actually feels like a death. You wake up with that pit in your stomach, you're anxious, you're sad, you hear your friends talking about them, you hear, I mean, if you're in the same social circle, you see them, you see their social media, like it's painful. It really is hard, even if you're the one who broke up with them, or you don't want to be with them, or you just know it's not right for you. Regardless, breakups are really hard because it's ending a relationship that you had and something that you were used to and it was in your norm, and it is really, really hard. I have dated absolute idiots, and I have been the absolute idiot. I am sharing this stuff with you guys today so that for the love of God, like, just please learn from my mistakes. I have had guys steal from me. I have had guys treat me horribly, like live off me, and then just turn around and be the utmost disrespectful that you could possibly be. And I have also been the idiot. I have been the one to break up with someone over text because I had already broken up with them 7 times before and just kept going back to them. That was the only way. Like, I dated idiots. I've been the idiot. Like, just please learn from my mistakes in this, all right? I'm by no means an expert at relationships, but I've had my fair share of breakups, and I think in the past year, I've just learned so much that if there's anything I can offer you, at least it's like some level of hope that life will just get a lot better. Also, I will say, if you have a steady stream of anxiety going into the relationship, I would be very, very careful. I think deep down, when we like are grounded or aligned with ourselves and I do believe that deep down, we know whether something is good or bad. It's hard too, because I do think I have anxiety in general, so it's hard for me to like differentiate if it's anxiety from me or if it's anxiety about something like just not being good for me. But I have just lost so much of myself in relationships that I should have never been in the first place. I have dated people so many times that I should have just stayed friends with. People that like from the very beginning, I was like, I would never date them. And if I was in a normal place and not spending so much time with them and then catching feelings and like, you know, emotions getting involved, I would have never dated them in my right mind. But because I let myself get into a position where I was more vulnerable and spending more time with them and naturally feelings developed, over time, the longer we ignore ourselves, I think the harder it is to hear ourselves. So eventually we end up like gaslighting ourselves, and then we end up in these relationships that we should have never been in the first place. And that's my experience for, honestly, I would say with probably at least 60-70% of the guys that I've dated. It has been people that I should have never been with to begin with at all. And I did it anyways. So anyways, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and a lot of problems down the road had I listened to myself from the very beginning, which is something I'm really like trying to do more of. There's also this quote that I wrote down from TikTok. It's Heal with Darlene on TikTok. She has a lot of like breakup TikToks that are really helpful and good. But this is something I was also recently saying to my little sister, and something I tell all of my friends all the time, only because I have learned through experience. I'm not saying I think I've done this every time. And I'm gonna share the quote before I get into this, okay? Do not be surprised if you got dumped by someone you should have dumped 100 times. If your bar is higher, they will see themselves out. It is just the way it works. We have got to, as people, I think this is the girl and guy problem, we have to stop dating down and dating people who we either don't align with, or not in a way that like you are better or they are worse, but they just, you don't have the same wants in life. They're not maybe at your level. You just deserve more at the end of the day. And I think for whatever reason, we think it's a lot easier to date down because surely they won't leave, or it's like a comfort thing, or maybe dating someone maybe more up to par, or but really like lives up to your standards is scary for whatever reason. But again, they will see themselves out. If your bar is higher, they see themselves out. It is just the way it works. The amount of friends I've had, even just in the past few months, that they get their heart broken dating guys who are literally absolute losers and rude, it's crazy. But again, do not be surprised if you get dumped by someone you should have dumped 100 times. I have done this. This has happened to me. I think it's really obvious and easy on the outside looking in, but when you're in that position, it is so much more difficult to actually break up with someone. But I did want to share that because, I don't know, I hate to say it because it makes me, it sounds like I'm being almost like conceited, as in like, we're better than every guy we've dated, and that isn't the case at all. That's not even what I mean. But I do think I have a habit personally of dating guys, not every guy that I've dated by any means, but dating guys who like literally don't even have jobs or have nothing really actually going for them, or all talk, or I don't know, just like definitely their bar is lower, let's say. And then I end up getting hurt because I am dating someone that, again, I should have never dated in the beginning, in the first place, and they are not living life in a way that would ever even align with me in a relationship. So like, why would I ever think it would work out? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of us do that, guys and girls. I think we ought to make ourselves date smaller, or we make ourselves smaller, because dating someone below our needs almost seems comfortable when really it just hurts us in the end. So dating down, honestly, again, it sounds harsh, is not helpful. It's not, eventually you will get hurt by it. So I think we're gonna talk about standards and like holding out later on, but just some food for thought. Again, not every guy I've dated, it's in this case at all, but I feel like we've all done that at some point. All right, whatever, I don't care. I like so censor myself way too much because I'm afraid I'm gonna sound a certain way, but like, whatever, I'm losing my personality, you know, whatever. Okay, so here are my unconventional breakup tips that actually helped me. Number one, and this is, by the way, this is after you've given yourself time to be sad. I think it's, like I said, it sucks. You're gonna wake up with the anxiety pit in your stomach. You're gonna be really sad. you're gonna cry, you're gonna see them, it's gonna suck, but you can't live there. Jessa Hastings said this once, and it is something that has always stuck with me. She says, heartbreak is somewhere that you go and you pitch a tent. It is not somewhere that you build a house. So give yourself some time to be really sad, and at some point you have to pick yourself back up, all right? So we're gonna talk about when you're more in the like picking yourself back up phase. There is also an entire other podcast that I recorded titled Breakup Bootcamp with Amy. I wanna say like the fall of 2020, and she has a book that's all about the science of breakups. It was the most helpful book ever. If I'm ever going through something or confused about something, I just need to read the book so then I have like some sort of understanding about it. But I will tell you right now, that book and that episode, if you are in the midst of a breakup right this very second, definitely listen to it after you finish this episode because it is so helpful. Like, she has helped me so much in the past year and a half of my life. I cannot recommend it enough. All right, so the first tip is not listening to sad breakup music. I know that's what everyone loves to do. I love Taylor Swift, one of my faves. I say this because every breakup that I have sat around and listened to sad music all the time, it only reminds you of that and only makes you think of it more. It makes it a bigger thing in your head, and it just makes it worse for me. So it's not that I'm not processing emotion, like I am dealing with it. Listening to sad breakup music constantly when you're going through a breakup is basically just like asking to cry and be sad 24/7. And it's not good for me, so it's something that I've actually stopped doing as I've gotten older. The only song that you're allowed to listen to is Miss Me More by Kelsey Ballerini. If you need a breakup anthem, I'm telling you, this is the song. We saw her perform this live at Dos Equis with the Jonas Brothers, and it was the best moment of my life, literally, ever. The next thing is reading. I know this sounds weird, but think about it late at night when you're sitting there, you're sad, you're feeling lonely, you miss them, you're sitting there making all of these stories or daydreaming or just spiraling and thinking about the breakup, about what's happened, about what they're doing now, whatever it is. Reading really helps that. TV doesn't really help that much to me because I can watch TV and then I'll end up on my phone and I'm still thinking. When I'm reading, I'm actually like really focusing in on the book. So that's something I started doing probably within the past 2 years during breakups, and it's really, really helped. Also, you get smarter, and hot girls read. And if you guys need a book rec, we have our own book club in the Geneva app. So go to our Geneva home, find the book club room, and join, all right? The other thing that's really helped me is not just absolutely hating my ex, and actually using it as a time to work on my own issues. Now listen, I am not gonna say I'm an absolute saint and I've never had a negative feeling towards an ex. I have been stolen from boyfriends. I have had people live off me and then treat me horribly. I think I already said that. I've tried to record this episode, by the way, like 10 times, so can't remember what I said and what I haven't said. I have had people just really, really severely mistreat me, and I've also mistreated people. Like, I've been on both ends, but I just don't think that absolutely hating my ex has ever done anything good for me. And again, it's making the breakup about that person when the breakup needs to be about you. Even if, let's say, you were 100% in the right and they're 100% in the wrong, you were 100% in the right, all right? Even then, I think there's always a chance for growth, and making the breakup about them is not, it's not going to do any good for you. So just not absolutely hating my ex. Also, I don't want the negative energy. I don't really like having problems with people. I don't hate any of my exes. I don't necessarily want to hang out with them, but it just hasn't done anything good for me. And also, I can look and recognize even people who did end up treating me horrible, or we ended up having a really bad falling out, or whatever it is. Like, there were good points in that relationship, like obviously, or else I wouldn't have been with them. So I think just, again, not focusing on hating your ex, that doesn't do anything good for you, right? Starting a gratitude journal in the morning when you wake up with that pit. This is something I had no idea was going to be so helpful. I had always heard of gratitude journals. I thought, yeah, that's great to like say things that you're grateful for. It really does rewire your brain though. Having some sort of gratitude journal, and I would sit there and I'd have to really get detailed and think about things that I'm grateful for, really helped when you wake up with that anxious pit that's like quite literally the worst feeling in the world. Another thing, muting people, and that's, I mean, I think muting your ex is really important. You unfollow whatever you have to do. It's normal. Like, you don't want to be sitting there. I don't think it's petty. Like, if you're sitting there having a good day and all of a sudden like your ex-boyfriend's post comes up and then it kind of ruins your mood, like kind of, it's, you know, it's like kills the vibe. You don't want that, and you can control that. Mute them. I have most people muted at this point. Like, if you're never ever in my life again, I mean, unfollow, but yeah, I just think that muting your ex is like a healthy thing to do. I don't think it's petty. And this also goes for people that remind you about the breakup. We had a couple friends, or even just friends before, that just like, for whatever reason, seeing their post like upset me or bothered me. Like I remember one time I was dating this guy, we were on a break, and then we ended up breaking up, obviously, but this is while we were on the break and we hadn't really told anyone. And I was living in Texas at this point, and I got a text from one of these people, these friends, and she was like, oh my God, I saw you're working on your roof, like so cute. And it was like the most random text you could ever get. And I was like, like knowing that she's trying to like dig and get details. And she's like, oh, like why isn't like your ex, enter his name, helping you? And I was like, it was just so gross. And also I was already just like so upset about what was going on. And then to like have people prying and being rude, which listen, we all pry, we're all nosy. I would just never text someone that. But anyways, those people ultimately continued throughout time to prove themselves as like people that, you know, just weren't like, we're no longer like my best friends. And I have them muted, and I muted them at the time because I didn't want to keep thinking about all the stories and everything to do with my ex-boyfriend. And that was also like a really helpful thing. Okay, again, looking within myself. Again, the breakup is about me. It is not about the boys that I've dated, but I had to really sit down and take inventory when I realized that I just kept dating people who like literally didn't have jobs. Like, it is so embarrassing. I have no idea what I was doing. And also just like, I don't think poorly of myself. I wasn't thinking that like this is all I could get, but I was letting myself get to a point where I was getting emotionally attached to these people, and then I was dating them. So it wasn't like if I were to see this person, let's say on like a dating app, or like get introduced to someone by them, whatever, I would be like, oh my God, I have to date them. I was just slowly putting myself in a position where I would get emotionally attached, even after I decided when I first met them that they are never someone that I should date. Slowly but surely, I would end up dating guys who like didn't have jobs, guys who were emotionally distant, guys who were just takers, made it all about themselves. And I think it was easier for me to be in relationships that were all about the other person than it was to open up or like be vulnerable with that person, because I was fearful of being vulnerable. I was scared, I wasn't comfortable. And I think within a lot of the stuff I just made excuses, but I do think I had a part, I know I 100% had a part to play in who I was picking when I was dating. I think a lot of it was out of comfort. I think a lot of it was because it was easy, it was right there. And then also because for whatever reason, I was afraid of opening up and dealing with my own problems. So I kept dating like guys who had so many issues and made everything about themselves. And that's kind of what I was looking for, to be honest with you, because I didn't want anything to be about me, because I didn't know anything, but I didn't want it to be about me because I didn't want to open up. It was a lot easier for me to give and give and give and make it about them. Maybe from some weird sense of like control, but also just like out of fear of vulnerability, out of fear of like actually opening up to someone and them actually kind of it being a bigger thing than it was. I don't know. So I had to sit down and like, I was by no means the victim in that situation. I kept choosing guys who, again, no jobs, emotionally distant, made it all about themselves, whatever it was. And again, there's also really great qualities of even the worst guys that I've dated. I mean, in my opinion, obviously I dated them for a reason, but I did have to sit down and think like, why am I doing this to myself? And also, why am I treating myself like I am worth literally nothing by getting into relationships with these people? Another thing that really helped me when I was trying to figure out my issues and my part that I played in these relationships was looking into attachment theory. This makes things make so much sense. The Breakup Bootcamp book and the episode, we talk about it a lot, and it's like, again, the science of rewiring your brain. I am an anxious, attached person, and typically when you're anxious, attached, you go for avoidant, attached, which it's like such a bad mix, because basically you harp on everything that the other person hates and all of their fears and all their anxieties. So the goal is to become securely attached, and I was definitely anxious attached in, I would say, almost every relationship that I've had, which is interesting because I'm actually the opposite in friendships. But yeah, that was a big thing for me to learn and really helpful. Another thing that I think is important, that we've all been there, like, you have to not live off a wish. Do not think, well, maybe we'll get back together down the line. Even if, like, let's say you are the couple that does get back together and it works out later on, I don't think that that is helpful in the time, because I think the couples that get back together later on, and the ones that I've at least seen have success, those are always the ones who break up, they go do their own thing, they live their own life, and later on they find their way back to each other. And it works out then because the reasons that they broke up, they both individually worked on during that time. I don't think working on that and making the breakup again about them, where you're sitting there like, oh, I want to fix this so I can be with them, or like maybe, I just don't think you're ever able to fully grow to the amount that you could, or even get to the point where you should be in order to get back into that relationship. I just think that living off of a wish and thinking maybe we'll get back together in the back of your head and really acting on that, I think is really harmful. You're basically just like living off of a lie and operating like you're still together. And at the end of the day, all you have is you. You are single, act like it. Like, don't make it about the other person. Another thing, vision boarding and creating a life that I want. I think about this all the time, but even just goals I set a year ago, or things that I was talking about with friends, or again, like actual vision boards that I was making, it's so crazy how it'll just happen and you realize it later on. I think specifically, I was looking for really close girlfriends that we would travel together and do things with, and now I have that again, and I didn't have that, you know, a year and a half ago. And just things like that, and creating an actual life that I want, and being true to myself and not holding myself to who I was in a relationship or what I thought I wanted at that point, because it's going to change, and allowing myself again to change. I recorded a solo episode about this probably like 2 weeks ago, of just changing my mind like every single aspect of my life. And I think it just, I don't know, this is like a blank page basically. Like, you are able to start fresh and start new. Again, cliche, but there is so many good things that will come out of a breakup. Living your best single life. I could do another hour on this topic. You will probably never have this amount of freedom ever again. Being single, it's a gift, all right? It is literally, as I said, the best thing that ever happened to me. But there's so much you can do, make new friends, go out and experience life. I think, you know, your post-breakup glow up is a real thing, right? You get hot. I mean, it's actually an incredible thing. But make even literally a vision board of what you want your single life to look like. It could look different. Like, I love riding horses. I love going out with my friends. I love going out for drinks. You will most likely never, ever have this amount of freedom ever again. As time goes on, even if you choose to not get married and you choose to not have kids, your career will probably grow and you'll have more responsibilities there. As things get older and a lot of y'all will become like homeowners, you know, that's more responsibility. With most likely where you're at this point in your life, you have the least amount of responsibility that you will have for the remainder of it. And that is not something to take for granted. My friends and I keep saying we need to do as many girls trips as possible because we're all single right now. And we're, honestly, it's kind of like a ticking time bomb. It's only a matter of time before we meet people, we start dating again, we're busy, so-and-so's getting married, there's bachelorettes, like whatever it is. And at this point, I'm living my best single life. I have no interest in dating unless I meet the absolute love of my life, which, like, who knows when that will happen. But again, you have the most amount of freedom you will probably ever have. And now is the time to just live it up, truly. That's my pep talk for your single life. You can do literally whatever you want to do. You will not be single, most likely, for the rest of your life. In the grand scheme of, or what's the average life expectancy, like 70 to 80 or something? I don't know, maybe like, hopefully not less than that. Your time of being single is most likely a lot shorter than your time of being married or in a relationship. Hopefully, I'm speaking like, you know, in faith, if you will. But I think that this is a time to really use to your advantage, use to your benefit, grow, become your own best friend, become as independent as you possibly can be in a healthy way. It's just, you're not gonna get this time back, and it's probably a really short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So enjoy it while you can. And most of all, I will say, do not settle. Do not be with someone who doesn't enhance your life. You need to be with someone who makes your already incredible life even more incredible. And that is what I say to myself all the time, and vice versa, okay? Relationships should make everything better, not worse, and they should bring out the absolute best in you. I dated a guy and he brought out the absolute best in me, parts of me that I forgot even existed. And I think that was actually a really helpful thing, because I had dated someone that I felt like we just really brought out the absolute worst in each other. And then I dated another guy and we were definitely not like the right fit, but I will say he brought out so many good things in me, and it just made me remember like, oh, a relationship can be this, it can be better. Not to say that was not like my person, but it changed my perspective on a lot of things, and it really helped me like loosen up and be myself again. And I just think that your relationship should bring out the best in you. Also, if you feel like you've settled, it is never too late ever. All right, if your biggest fear is being alone and not really about losing the person for who they are and what they add to your life, you can get out now. Remember your worth. Make your life alone so good that you wouldn't even consider settling, because you'd have to give up so much of what you built. That is my problem right now, is that my life is so good that I'm like, I don't even know how I would meet a guy that would even add to this. I feel like they would only take away. And then the second that I meet someone that I think will actually add to my life is when I'll date again. But I don't feel that way. And maybe I'm not a relationship expert, so maybe that's horrible advice, but I just will not settle. I've done it before, and I refuse to do it. Who you end up with and marry is the biggest decision you'll ever make, and it's going to affect everything forever. And I want to have a really healthy marriage. I want to be so in love. Like, I will wait for that over settling in my 20s because I'm afraid of being single. But here's the thing. When you make your single life fun, you won't be afraid of being single anymore because it's fun. Actually, I don't want to say that, because I know there's a lot of stigma around 30s and whatever. I think you can still be afraid of being single. I take that back. But I just want to say, I think you're less likely to settle when you really like your life on your own. I'm in a place where I genuinely cannot even imagine having feelings for someone, just because I feel like I just want more than, maybe it's the guys my age. I feel like I'm 24, like guys mature later. Guys that I'm around, I don't know, I want a lot more. I want a really healthy relationship. I know what I want now, so I will continue to live my life, and eventually I'm sure I'll meet that person. But until then, I'm going to continue having the absolute time of my life, because you do not need a partner for that. Take it from me, I have been in relationships that even were healthy at certain times, and I am so much happier on this side of it. If you're going through a breakup, I'm so sorry. It is so painful and horrible, but it will get better. And utilize it, use it to your advantage, use being single to your advantage. It really is one of the best things in the world. Like, we need to reframe this. You do not have to have a partner. I get asked this all the time. I have friends who like try to pressure me into dating and like think I'm weird for not dating, which, to be fair, I could be more open to it, but I'm just happy. I love being alone. I love being single, and it is the most empowered and confident I've ever felt, and I have the best relationship with myself and with those around me. And again, when I meet someone who makes my already great life even better, then that'll be a different conversation. But I haven't met them, so not anytime soon. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learned from my mistakes. Again, this is not about the boys that I've dated. A lot of them are great. Honestly, they're all great in their own ways. It's just like certain people are not meant for each other. And this breakup is about me, and the mistakes that are, these breakups are about me and the mistakes I've made and how I can grow in the ways that I've made my life so much better since. It's not shitting on them at all. We just didn't work out. Like, we're not meant to be. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I love y'all so much. If you guys haven't already, be sure to check out the Breadwinning Housewife merch. It's all linked below. Join our Geneva home. Watch us on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok. All that stuff. But I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you next Thursday. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know by giving it a nice thumbs up and subscribe for more.